One of my favorite YouTube channels is Quinn's Ideas. I can hardly remember there was a time when I didn't watch it. Quinn's Ideas started out by covering mostly Dune, with some Game of Thrones mixed in, but in the last 2 years he has broadened his coverage to also include Foundation, Hyperion and the works of H.P. Lovecraft. Thus it appears Quinn and I have everything in common. So it didn't come as a surprise he started his own fiction project, the fantasy comic Tadhya. While I'm relatively new to reading comics, thanks to Quinn I've delved into Neil Gaiman's The Sandman and Jodorowsky's The Incal. Now, after 2 years, what started as an Indiegogo project has finally been completed, with the first volume Tadhya Exordium being released to backers. And this is a review of the digital version. While watching Quinn's Dune videos, you quickly get the impression that the all-female Bene Gesserit are amongst his favourite characters in Frank Herbert's fictional universe. They are certainly mine. That, combined with some other influences, ensures Tadhya would be about witches and witchcraft. But before I analyse Tadhya in detail, let me describe what it is about. Tadhya starts when 2 witches approach Lord Stefan in the night about the bargain they had struck decades back. In favour of being lifted out of poverty and into the nobility, Stefan would give the witches his eldest daughter. As you may guess, Stefan is not keen to honour the bargain, but unlike other instances of this trope, he is not stupid either. The witches command him to leave his home unguarded. This leaves the witches of Hecate an opportunity to impregnate his eldest daughter using magical means, from which Tadhya is born. The headstrong child appears fascinated with the old legends of the witches and their ancient enemy Baelor. The latter is on the rise, but can only send fragments of himself into the realm. They are called Fomori. These are capable of possessing humans and are responsible of a number of murders. Tadhya and her new chambermaid Esita decide to stop them. While ultimately successful, by the end of Exordium it is discovered that the witches of Hecate allowed one of the Fomori to pass from Otherworld to this realm in order to activate Tadhya's special powers. Their intentions for this remains unknown. What struck me first and foremost about Tadhya is how Quinn has created a fully fleshed out fictional universe with its own rules and rituals. This part can be both fun to do for any author but also hard to get right. I know how it can be done from the method described by author Orson Scott Card from his non-fiction book How to Write Science Fiction and Fantasy. Quinn's Tadhya feels as if it is one of the better thought out fictional worlds. Tadhya Exordium is ripe with many influences from popular culture. As mentioned, there is a fair amount of inspiration from the Bene Gesserit sisters from Dune in the Sisters of Hecate, their powers and independence being too noteworthy. But I also see influences from Cinderella, especially with Tadhya's difficult relationship with her mother. Stepmother, I must say. The evil named Baelor and his Fomorians stem from Irish mythology. Dungeons and Dragons also has an evil named Baelor, though I am not certain if Quinn was influenced by it. Finally, there are parallels to the Sandman comics by Neil Gaiman. There is a similar importance to the dream world. There are also familiar tropes within Tadhya. The Sisters of Hecate are witches who live in the forest. Their lives and power are under threat from a new religion whose god is referred to as the Father, with its own Bible called the Holy Tome. Thus, the feminine naturalist world is threatened by the masculine artificial world. One of the best parts of Tadhya Exordium is the artwork. The drawings made by Matthew Weldon blends medieval realism with fantasy. The setting and characters have considerable detail and add a lot to the sense of immersion. This is topped off by the wonderful color palette used by colorist Jean-François Beaulieu. The dark blues of the night, the glow of the hearths inside a room, and the amazing color explosions caused by magic are unlike anything I have seen before. I am not certain how much both artists have cooperated on this book, but it feels like they did. Both styles enhance each other and the story. Tadhya could have been a book, and had it been a book, no doubt the second volume would have already been released. But this comic book is something special. Yes, I can see many influences within Tadhya Exordium, consciously or not, but I think Tadhya succeeds on its own just as well. While I would have loved it to be a longer comic book, it is surprisingly effective as an introduction or beginning, which is what Exordium actually means. Tadhya's journey in the story is a complete one as she battles the forces of Baelor. There is even a lengthy prologue that reminds me a lot of the Sandman comics with its theme of betrayal and broken promises. Exordium is as such a self-contained story. While a cliffhanger is present, it does not dominate. I hope Quinn will manage to continue this series. I think Exordium is a labour of love that lasted almost 3 years. No doubt a second book should be produced more quickly. I understand there were some production difficulties culminating in a change of letterer. I think that haste is the cause of 1 or 2 typos, but they are not a big deal. I hope I will get my hardback copy soon. Tadhya Exordium was not meant to be read from a computer screen. Check out the link in the description for the Indiegogo page for Tadhya. Also, don't forget to check out Quinn's channel. Finally, if you have enjoyed this video, then please click the like button. If you want more content like it, then please hit the subscribe button. That will help my channel grow.